because of the work that we had done in the previous 3 years, the confidence that the international institutions had in St. Lucia, and the substantially improved fiscal outlook for St. Lucia, we were able to borrow $320 million EC, primarily from the World Bank, the IMF, and CDB. And these were not ordinary borrowings. These were borrowings that we were able to get it for 40 years, a 10-year moratorium at 0.5%. And these are monies that are made available to countries when they hit these kinds of international crises, a shock. Everywhere in the world, we saw countries having to borrow money. So this idea that borrowing money was unique to St. Lucia, or this government, my government, was acting recklessly, how could you make that in the face of the facts that we've seen? In fact, United Workers' Party, as the tradition goes, operated exemplary.
They have added over 911 million to the debt stock, causing the debt to GDP ratio to increase over 34 percentage points over their 5-year period.
The Department of Finance made a presentation to the Chamber of Commerce in which some startling revelations were made, Mr. Speaker. The Department of Finance revealed that the GDP was projected to decline by 26% in 2020, and even more shockingly, Mr. Speaker, government revenue plunged by 36%. The public debt, which was recorded at 3.4 billion, had parachuted to 3.6 billion. And the most alarming statistic of all, Mr. Speaker, was that the debt to GDP ratio will exceed 90% by the end of March 31st, 2021. Mr. Speaker, these numbers speak for themselves, and Mr. Speaker, clearly show an economy in crisis and in danger of becoming a failed state. Mr. Speaker, St. Lucia finds itself in uncharted territory, and it appears that we are knocking on the IMF door.
We've borrowed almost $500 million in 3 months.
You borrowing too much money?
The big argument really has been, are you taking on too much debt? And this is what we keep on trying to explain to everyone.
The Prime Minister equates St. Lucia's ability to access multinational loan funding as the litmus test for the economy's creditworthiness on the international market. Senator Auger holds a contrary view.
So it's not sustainable. And what will give us comfort is to know that whatever situation we are in, 3 billion, 4 billion, 5 billion, it really doesn't matter. The question is it sustainable? And it is not everything that you can do, that you should do.
So to go and borrow more money, we've borrowed almost $500 million.
Mr. Speaker, the government has borrowed over $400 million this year. It has borrowed over $400 million this year, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the government boasts
again, the member
is
using information to mislead the House. How much you borrow doesn't mean that it's attributing and going towards the debt of the country.
What?
The document says that, in fact, what we've done is we've added $320 million to the debt stock of the country.
Okay, the government has borrowed between $320 and $400 million.
No, Mr. Speaker.
Mr.
Again,
Speaker.
Honorable members.
He's going to get the information correct. Say it correctly.
Honorable members, let's not start the morning.
Mr. Speaker,
wrong footing.
The truth hurts. Mr. Speaker, the government boasts
again, the member is using information to mislead the House. How much you borrow doesn't mean that it's attributing and going towards the debt of the country.
What?
How much you borrow doesn't mean that it's attributing and going towards the debt of the country.
What?
How much you borrow doesn't mean that it's attributing and going towards the debt of the country.
What?
St. Lucia's public sector debt has increased by more than 900 million, or 30%, since the Chastanet administration took office in 2016. According to this table, St. Lucia's debt is highest in the Eastern Caribbean, close to 350 million more in the red than number 2, Antigua and Barbuda.
You just put in a bill on St. Lucia, that's not right.